Writing process is the study of how actual writing happens. Scholars have studied the traits, methods, and characteristics that writers use, and this discovery can help people of all writing abilities be more effective. Classic rhetoric defines the process of writing into 5 stages: invent, arrange, add style, memorize, and deliver. Modern-day rhetoricians, such as scholars from Dartmouth College and Purdue University, summarize the writing process as having 3 components: invention, composition, and revision. The study of the writing process is a relatively new field, stemming from conversations and articles in the 1960s. Prior to this, 18th and 19th century rhetoricians such as George Campbell and Hugh Blair believed that knowledge should come from the outside world, sciences and other disciplines, or observation. Student writers would find their topics to write about by simply thinking or looking, and this took away the need for invention of ideas. Blair said, "Knowledge and science must furnish the materials that form the body and the substance of any valuable composition. Rhetoric serves to add the polish." This method of teaching writing without invention, and instead with more of a focus on the completed product and organization through the use of popular English composition textbooks, is known today as current traditional rhetoric. Invention was rediscovered in 1963 through the work of Richard Braddock, Richard Lloyd-Jones, and Lowell Schuer in their book Research in Written Composition. Then, in 1965, Richard Young and Alton Becker presented a theory called tagmetics that was later developed into the 1970 textbook Rhetoric, Discovery, and Change. Other important works that studied and critiqued formally accepted writing processes included Wayne Booth's Rhetoric of Fiction, 1961, and John Dixon's Growth Through English in 1967. James Britton's Language and Learning in 1970 and the Development of Writing Abilities in 1975 explained his study of several thousand samples of student writing and punctuated the importance of studying the process of writing itself. Janet Emig also conducted a very influential study in a much narrower scope than that of James Britton. Emig studied the writing process by working with 8 students. She met with the students 4 times, and in the first 2 meetings she asked them to write a brief essay and talk about what they were thinking as they were writing. In their 3rd meeting, the students brought childhood writing and talked about writing autobiographies. And in the 4th meeting, they were asked to write a fictional piece and to bring in all of their drafts. Linda Flower and John Hayes conducted a study on the writing process similar to Emig's. They audio recorded subjects who spoke as they wrote assignments and then presented their findings in a complex flowchart that was supposed to represent a theoretical model of the writing process. This analysis was criticized for its generality in regards to individual subjects' ability to translate from written to oral discourse. By the end of the 1980s, the study of writing process evolved into a common rally cry to teach process, not product. The old, outdated, current traditionalists were further criticized for their textbook approach to writing, which left little room for creativity and invention of new ideas. The textbook and teacher-centered approach to writing valued solely the product, when the process should be the ultimate goal to create better writers. The focus back on the process instead of the product, invention and deeper thought increases. Peter Albo, a leader of this movement and author of Writing Without Teachers, 1973, sought to bring invention and positivity back to the world of student writing. The old pedagogy, to Albo, was mostly negative, as seen by the heavy corrections and editing tone in the revision phase of the writing process. The new process pedagogy was all about how to do writing. It invigorated classrooms with this new focus on process. One technique in this more modern method of teaching the writing process is called free writing. Students were told to write for 10 minutes without stopping, writing quickly yet without rushing. They were not to reread what they wrote or stop to cross something out, just simply write as many things and ideas as possible. Albo said, "The only requirement is that you never stop." Using this method, the teacher is not the evaluator, but rather a coach, encouraging the student that the ideas and reflections come from within. Instead of grading a free writing sample, the teacher might review the sample along with the student, searching for interesting ideas or details that can be further developed in another piece. They look for possibilities and potential in a very unfinished and preliminary form. Students, even the most novice of them, are regarded as legitimate writers. In process pedagogy classrooms, students sit in a circle and the teacher acts as a facilitator. The classroom becomes a workshop. Writing centers grew out of this idea in the 1970s and 80s as students sought tutors who would aid in this process. Middle schools, high schools, and even colleges embraced this process pedagogy, even as its critics damned it for being anti-institutional. The main issue people had with the technique of free writing was that it was very unclear how to get from a brainstorming free write session to a finished paper. Peter Elbow addressed this concern in his book, Writing with Power: Techniques for Mastering the Writing Process, in which he explained how to make that transition, highlighting the importance of looping ideas from one free writing piece to its next. This idea that creativity is natural is also called the expressivist approach, as students were finally able to express themselves in a composition class setting. Student writing became soul-searching and original, yet students still struggled with their final draft. In 2004, a study summed up this gap by finding that while free writing did produce more ideas, a higher quality final draft was more often produced with organized notes and outline. So, while the process of free writing is important for invention, the traditional use of outline and notes are still useful in the composition phase of the entire writing process. The problem lies when process pedagogy teachers use free writing for more than just the invention phase of the writing process. Studies of different pedagogies are bound to spur change in the way writing is taught, but the three fundamental components of the writing process remain the same: invention, composition, and revision.